What up, everybody? There's this show I've been seeing on YouTube and on the internet over the last couple months called Dexter Resurrection. And even though I didn't watch this series myself, primarily because the fact I didn't watch the original series Dexter and didn't want to have to watch all those seasons and episodes to catch up with what the storyline was about and everything for the new series called Dexter Resurrection. But at the same time, the whole topic of Dexter Resurrection did make me look into more information about what the show was about. And there was actually an additional spin-off after the original series ended called Dexter New Blood. The original Dexter series ended in 2013, but the new series New Blood didn't come out until 2021 and was only for one season, basically a mini-series setting the stage for the new series Dexter Resurrection. And the theme to the miniseries, New Blood, is definitely something that caught my attention, which could be a parallel to the return of none other than Ghost, James St. Patrick. The description says, Dexter Morgan is missing, presumed dead, and living a homicide-free life under an assumed name when his son shows up. Thrown off balance, Dexter soon finds that his dark passenger is alive and well, and that he has very dangerous company in Iron Lake, New York. So in the same type of way that Dexter faked his death and took on a new identity and returned with a new chapter of the story 8 years later with the show New Blood, then again a few years later, now in 2025 with the series Resurrection, could we see something similar take place with the return of Ghost in power? Like I've talked about in other videos before, I believe that Ghost got assistance in faking his death from Stephen Ott in the Democratic Party, because the fact that Jacob Warner and Blanca Rodriguez had continued to pursue a warrant for Ghost's arrest. Keeping in mind that Stephen Ott made sure that Jacob Warner was fired the very next day after Ghost had got shot. And the reason why I believe that Stephen Ott and the Democratic Party helped Ghost fake his death was because of the bad press they would have received by having a drug-dealing murderer on their ticket for lieutenant governor. So because of that, part of the agreement between Ghost and the Democratic Party would be that they were going to keep him out of prison, but he had to fake his death and live a homicide-free life under a new identity without anybody knowing that he was still alive. And just like how Dexter was living in the woods in Iron Lake, New York, there was a clue about where Ghost potentially went in Power Book Force, when at one point Tommy was telling JP about his business back in New York and how he used to run laundromats and clubs before he let JP know that he was a drug dealer. And he told JP that his former business partner went south. And like how in the show Dexter, how he ended up hiding out in the woods somewhere in New York. He was originally from Miami, Florida, and things could pretty much be reversed for Ghost's situation, as he's from New York and could have potentially went to Miami to live under his new identity. Keep it in mind that him and Angela's dream was to ultimately move away from New York and live in Miami. So I think the most likely place that Ghost has been living is somewhere down in the Miami area, either though it might not be exactly Miami. It might be just South Florida, somewhere more like the Belgrade area, where it's more of a rural environment, so he could keep a low profile better. Similar how Dexter wasn't living in NYC, but living in Iron Lake, New York. And either though I'm 50-50 to whether Tommy knows Ghost is alive or not, I'm definitely leaning in the direction that he doesn't know, either though he told JP that Ghost went south. I think that he was just saying that more to try not to scare JP by telling him that his former business partner was dead. But at the same time, it could definitely be a clue where Ghost is actually at right now, laying low under the new identity. This also means that Ghost is finally living life away from the game for the first time in his adult life since he was young, the thing he spent all of power trying to do. Also likely the real reason he got into politics, seeing it as just another way to escape the life. So with that said, the question now remains, what would cause Ghost to break away from his comfortable life that he's living under a new identity to return to the power storyline? And that would likely be the only thing Ghost regretted leaving behind at the point in his life when he had to fake his death and take on a new identity. And that's his daughter, Yaz. Something to do with Yaz could definitely bring Ghost back into the storyline. Just like in the show Dexter, it was his son that found him living in the woods that picked up the storyline on that show. And on a side note, one thing to also keep in mind in regards to Yaz is that even though Tariq lost his inheritance in the Weston Ponzi scheme, as far as I know, Yaz still has her inheritance and she'll receive it when she turns 18 years old. And this could have also been a factor in why Ghost agreed to fake his death and leave his family behind, because if he didn't, they could have potentially froze his assets like they did before when he was in jail, trying to say he was a drug dealer. And that would have made things even harder for Yaz, because if he would have got locked up and sent to prison, she potentially wouldn't have even had an inheritance at all. But if Yaz were in some kind of danger, and Ghost were to find out about it while he was in hiding, could definitely cause Ghost to return to try to rescue Yaz. And if Yaz were in danger, the first person who Ghost would likely turn to help him find a way to save Yaz would be none other than Tommy Egan. And like I talked about before in other videos, how there's an image from Force Season 3 of Tommy in his loft, dressed in all black with gloves on and a gun in his hand, looking at somebody sitting in a chair in Tommy's loft. And from the back, it definitely looks like it could potentially be Ghost, who he's looking at in this clip. But what if this is Ghost showing up in force and letting Tommy know that he needs his help because Yaz is in trouble? But the question is, why would Yaz be in any kind of trouble to where Ghost could potentially come out of hiding? But keep in mind that over the past couple seasons of Book 2, that Yaz has been in Whitsec with her mother, Tasha St. Patrick. But at the end of Power Book 2, Tariq took his family out of Whitsec now that he's getting money working under Chinadu and set them up in a new place, in a new city, but never revealed where on camera. So number one, now that they're out of Whitsec and Tariq's at the top of the game, someone could potentially target Yaz to get to Tariq, and Ghost could find out about this. But also number two, because of the fact we don't know where Tariq sent Tasha, Yaz, and Estelle to, and if Ghost is alive, we don't know where he is either. But because we already know that Tariq and Ghost think a lot alike, and if Ghost was given a chance where to relocate to under his new identity, like how Tariq chose where to relocate Tasha and Yaz to, they might actually be living closer to each other right now than we think. But then there's also the fact that when Tariq got arrested on those murder charges, the St. Patrick family estate lawyer, Daniel Warren, brought Tariq the letter from Ghost. But what if Tariq wasn't the only person that Ghost had letters for? What if at some point Yaz starts getting letters from Ghost also, letting her know that she was too young at the time? But now that she's older, Ghost might straight up tell her that he's still alive, or put clues for her to find out in the letter, while also letting her know that her mother and her brother wanted him dead and tried killing him. Because at the end of the day, we can't think that even if Ghost was dead, that he hated Tariq so much that he would have a letter prepared for him if he went to prison, but not have anything at all written for Yaz, his youngest daughter, who he loved. So we got to believe at some point Yaz will get a letter from Ghost, whether he's dead or alive. And if he is in fact alive, this could set the stage for Yaz finding Ghost and reconnecting with him. And there you have it. Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.